All right, so we have the Boo Brothers go to Alaska, Pikaboo, Dillypoo, and Kubzy versus Team DBBDBK. This team seems so good. I mean, they've won this tournament 3 times in the past, and they've gone through a ridiculous bracket to get to these points. I mean, both teams have faced amazing teams to get to the point that they're at right now. And this is a best-of-5 series, excuse me, not a best-of-3, so this is going to determine who's going to the finals. Now, if you're rooting for either one of these teams, don't worry too much, as whichever team loses this still goes to the losers bracket and can fight their way back into the finals. Oh yeah. Man,
absolutely. And that's what's kind of cool about the format this week is it is a double elimination. So even if your favorite team gets knocked out, they still have a chance to come back through the whole thing.
Yeah, but at the same time, you never want to lose because you still want to always have that opportunity to lose later. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Both teams are actually playing fairly defensively, which makes sense as both Shrouds are out right now. Pikaboo actually almost walked straight into that flare, just barely stopped himself in time before that happened. The Shrouds have now worn off, so we'll have to see what ends up working out. This is where the Thug Cleave has actually got a little bit of an advantage because all 3 of them can sort of sit in stealth, and DBBDBK has really no idea where they are. Oh, but a very nice little blizzard there is actually going to catch Dillypoo and pull him out. And now a flare as well. Looks like it might hit Kubzy. No, excuse me, that's the wrong team's flare, so it's not actually going to pull him out. But it doesn't really matter. Mageiden now taking a bunch of damage as Pikaboo is opening up on him and getting this started. Kubzy now into a full deep. Trying to get the ring out as well in the midst of all that, but it's not quite going to work. Dillypoo getting it. Wow, Dillypoo takes a ton of damage in a hurry there and does have to deterrence just barely in time, dipping down to like 15% health. Now the sheep and blind onto Kubzy, doing his best to get out of all of that. The silence as well. Dillypoo uses his second deterrence. He's just trying to get away. Kubzy desperately trying to get some hots rolling on him to get him back up. The smoke bomb now comes out as well. Both rogues actually using smoke bomb in the midst of all this. And Genericz just up and dies. Just out of nowhere. The hard swap, like you were saying, Ven. That just ridiculous amount of damage out of nowhere onto Genericz. He just fell over.
And yeah, it's like I said, Genericz uses Trinket offensively. So he used that Trinket to sort of keep on Dillypoo and keep him low. And he ended up just getting gibbed in a smoke bomb, which is what I thought would happen. I mean, just saving all their damage for that. But I mean, if he almost lived. If he was able to live there, they were in such a nightmare spot. I mean, that was a really close game.
Unbelievable. You're like so calm and collected right now, man. You're like, yeah, that's what I said was gonna happen. But I was like, I don't know. I thought Dillypoo's team was in so much trouble. Both the turrets is used. That's crazy. This matchup is gonna be explosive. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and ask Team DBBDBK what map next. They are thinking. They actually they beat me to the whisper.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah, Dannycarry did actually manage to get an Iron Bark out onto Genericz about half a second before Genericz took like 300k damage and died. But it obviously was not enough to keep him alive. Like, yeah.
It's those crows, the BM crows, they just do so much damage. It's insane.
Yeah. The crows, the Bestial Wrath, and the Barrage, I believe, in that as well. It's just so much damage to actually deal with.
Alright, so the next map chosen by this RMD is going to be actually Ruins of Lordaeron. Alright, everybody, welcome back. It is Ruins of Lordaeron. And as we like to say, Ruins of Hunteron. And Dillypoo is actually a hunter, so there's that. But
surprising news.
I still feel like both teams have like this ridiculous explosion of damage available to them, and it could go either way. But I still don't even know what to think after watching the first round.
Yeah, I'm definitely a bit perplexed by this map choice because it is such a strong map for hunters. So I'm curious to see what it is that DBBDBK feel about this matchup that they're going to be able to do. Wow, actually getting the sap onto Pikaboo. They're able to pull him out there and get the kidney onto him. The smoke bomb comes out, but Pikaboo taking so much damage right in that opener right there. That was an awesome ability by Genericz there to be able to get him into the sap. The Iron Bar comes out as well. They're trying to turn it around onto Mageiden, and they do actually get a silence onto him and a full kidney onto Dannycarry. Genericz rooted off to the side a little bit as well. Dannycarry's just going to go ahead and use his bark skin. Mageiden actually feeling pretty fine at the moment as well. He's starting to get a little bit low here, trying to get this polymorph off. Does land it on Kubzy, and he's going to try and get another one out. No, actually, they're going to use the blind, which Kubzy will then immediately trinket. And Mageiden actually got kicked on his polymorph, so they're not going to be able to get another one out. But he has not had to block just yet. And they're just doing their best to try and turn this damage back around here. Cyclone's coming out onto Pikaboo to shut down his damage, and this is their answer then. This is what DBBDBK wants to do to be able to shut down
yeah,
this
Pikaboo's in a
Subtlety.
lot of trouble right now. He just got kidney without feint up. Kubzy caught into that full ring. He actually has no trinket available. Pikaboo has no trinket available, but they're switching it over onto Genericz right now, trying to get some damage out on him, but he is just going to pop evasion, and he's going to be fine. That was actually a really good swap on the Pikaboo. I mean, they were able to kidney him out of the clone with no feint up, and I'm surprised he didn't take more damage. But now Pikaboo popping that dance, trying to turn around onto Mageiden. The barrage comes out from Dillypoo onto Mageiden. The full trap on Dannycarry. Dannycarry does have his trinket available. He's probably going to let Mageiden pop his block if he needs to. The full kidney onto Dillypoo, though. Deep freeze onto Kubzy. Dillypoo taking a lot of damage. The smoke bomb coming out onto Mageiden. Dannycarry immediately blinking into that, but he does get cloned, so Mageiden is going to be forced into that block. Nice smoke bomb there by Pikaboo.
Yeah, definitely. Finally getting that block out of Mageiden. It looked for a second there like he wasn't even going to have to use it, but he did go ahead and use it anyway, because of course he has two of them. Pikaboo now in the full bash, stuck right on top of that flare as well. A nice flare to prevent him from vanishing into the clone now as well. They're trying to put some damage into Dillypoo here. Now getting the kidney, the cheap shot onto Dillypoo and the full poly onto Kubzy. Dilly's going to have to use his deterrence there to try and keep from dying here. Another flare comes out to try and stop those vanishes from happening, just to limit the little bit of damage output that can happen as a result of that. Mageiden now taking a little bit of focus here, but not too bad, as Pikaboo is getting rooted and sheeped on his Shadow Dance. Not able to make much happen, but Genericz taking a ton of damage here in the midst of all of this. He's just... I don't know actually how he survived that. That was a lot of damage in a hurry. They're now swapping over onto Mageiden. They've got the full kidney onto him. He's not able to blink out of it. Trying to do as much damage on him as they can. Kubzy now in the full blind. Genericz going to be popping his Adrenaline Rush, but Mageiden's still taking a ton of damage here. He may have to use his second block, as Dannycarry is now stuck into a short trap as well. But it looks like, now the full blind onto Dannycarry, they've got to be able to do enough damage in the midst of all this. But Dillypoo actually having a deterrence is going to limit a ton of that damage output as well, and the gouge as well. So Mageiden is able to hold on to his block yet again.
Yeah, Dillypoo actually has no more deterrence left. Still doesn't have his trinket up for a little bit. Kubzy caught into that DR sheep. Dillypoo in that smoke bomb, the kidney smoke bomb, the full clones out onto Kubzy. Dillypoo in a lot of trouble here. He does have those full hots from Kubzy now, able to get some heals, cast that regrowth on him. The red buff killing spree onto Dillypoo, and it's just not going to be enough, and he is going to go down.
That was like 100k damage in one GCD. That was a lot. Yeah, that 50k Ice Nova from Mageiden right at the end there.
Wow. So, holy crow. So, I mean, looking at this replay real quick, Kubzy just never left the CC. That's the full cycle, and he trinkets out of it, gets the nature slip himself onto Dillypoo, Roar Sacrifice up, but that's the red buff killing spree as Kubzy goes into that DR clone, and that 50k Ice Nova. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I saw it. There it is. All right. So there it is. It is 1-1. Oh, and it is not a best of 3 though. It is a best of 5. So the next map choice is going to be. Oh, these teams are always just so ready. I wasn't even out of the arena yet. All right. So the next map of this best of 5 series is going to be on Dalaran Sewers. This choice coming from the Boo Brothers Go to Alaska.
Dalaran Sewers, huh?
Yep. Did I say that wrong?
No, not at all.
So I could share.
Just thinking about
just contemplating the map choice, trying to think.
Yeah.
Why? But I mean, ultimately, I think this is one of those matchups where I don't think map is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, any map they go on should be pretty even, and if there is an advantage, it'll be very slight.
Yeah, it's more about which map are you, like, is your individual players more comfortable on here, I would say. So if they feel like they're comfortable on Dalaran Sewers, then screw it. Play Dalaran Sewers. Go for it.
I like it. Now, it is currently 1-1. The first team that reaches 3 wins is going to advance to the finals. I don't know. I honestly have no idea which way it can go. I feel like something that to note is that after the first game where they kind of globaled Genericz because he trinketed early, he held his trinket a lot longer that game on Runes of Orderon. So both teams just doing a really great job adapting to each other's play. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, one thing to note about this matchup is rogues are only really susceptible to dying to other rogues, so they have to actually be very careful in this matchup, making sure they keep up Feint and making sure they don't trinket too recklessly. But it looks like Genericz is going to open up onto Dillypoo. Kubzy getting deep freezed into that full Ring of Frost. It is going to get interrupted, so he's going to cast that Polymorph the Dance coming out from Pikaboo, though, trying to stop some of this damage output on Dillypoo, but Dillypoo taking a lot of damage here. The sheep onto Kubzy and Dillypoo dipping down to around 30%. It might be his first deterrence. He's going to pull back. Kubzy having to trinket that blind. Gets the Iron Bark and NS's him to full. Dillypoo holding on to his trinket and double deter there, so he still has those available. Dannycarry getting blinded by Pikaboo. They are still on Mageiden trying to get as much damage as possible onto him. Genericz getting cloned out of that. The sap comes out from Pikaboo onto Dannycarry, and Mageiden is going to probably have to use his first block here.
Yep, and there it is. Mageiden in that first block. Just very nicely executed there from Boo Brothers, able to pull that out of him, very guaranteed basically. He's actually still taking a bunch of damage here too. Dannycarry in the full kidney. Mageiden actually running down here to the bottom, trying to get out of line of sight, now trying to use that blazing speed to get over to, actually, never mind, he's just going to stop here and try and get some casts off. He's getting silenced on this though. Dillypoo taking a bunch of damage in the midst of all of this as well. He has not used either of his deterrences yet or his trinket, so he should feel pretty safe in the midst of all of this, and there's actually is going to be his first deterrence, just to make sure that he's not going to be in too much trouble there, as Kubzy, I believe, was in, it was some form of CC. I didn't actually catch which one it was. Now the Iron Bark coming out on Dillypoo to try and keep him alive. Dannycarry is in a trap at the moment, into the sap as well. Mageiden taking a bunch of damage here yet again, and he may have to use his second block, as Dannycarry has now been rooted and not able to heal him from where he is. Oh, no, excuse me. He is able to actually get line of sight there. I was mistaken. Iron Bark does come out on a Mageiden as well. So they are actually, at the very least, able to pull out a bunch of cooldowns out of the Boo Brothers there, but at the same time, DBBDBK has used a bunch of their cooldowns as well.
Mageiden now caught into that full kidney, getting smoked there by the Crows of Dillypoo. The second block having to come out. He gets caught in kidney after that blink, and he's still not out of the woods yet. Dannycarry desperately trying to get out heals, throwing out that Cyclone onto Pikaboo to try to stop some damage. Dillypoo throwing those roots onto Genericz and Mageiden with that disengage, and Mageiden's going to be top for now, but he's in a lot of trouble. I mean, he still doesn't have a block up for another minute when that cold snap comes up. Dannycarry getting caught into the full kidney, and Pikaboo still relentlessly training down Mageiden, trying to stop him from getting out that CC, trying to burst him down and do as much damage as possible to him. Mageiden hovering around 75% HP right now, but Dannycarry not in any more CC. And as I say that, he gets blind. He has no trinket. This is big trouble for Mageiden. They are able to follow it up at all. He might get a sap. He does get the DR sap. Mageiden in that cheap shot right now. Big trouble for Mageiden. Caught into that kidney. The bash comes out from Dannycarry. Mageiden has no block available. Hovering around 30% HP. Has a few hots. And he is going to live. The NS coming out from Dannycarry. And they're trying to turn it around on Dillypoo with that kidney shot. But the BM comes out from Dillypoo. They're trying to damage Mageiden through this Iron Bark, and the Garrote coming out from Pikaboo onto Dannycarry there. Excellently done by him. The Mageiden still in a lot of trouble, hovering around 50% HP. The kidney shot comes out from Dannycarry into full kidney, or into a full trap on Dannycarry, and Mageiden's just going to go down. Sorry. That was a very beautiful off kidney by Pikaboo there, and Dillypoo was able to capitalize on that and get Dannycarry into a full trap, and they're able to kill Mageiden there.
Oh, man. Trading blow for blow, man. It's now 2-1. Let's take a quick look at the replay. Watch Mageiden. He has Ironbark, and Dannycarry is not in any CC, but the Garrote goes out, and this BM crows through the Ironbark. It's just so much. Pikaboo running back and forth from Dannycarry and Mageiden just to control him, and the DR Kidney Shot comes out. And then the full trap on top of that. Mageiden desperately trying to survive, going into that invis, but it's too late. And there it is. It is currently 2-1 in favor of the Boo brothers. I'm going to go ahead and ask Team DBBDBK. That the RMD
team various collections of consonants.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, this isn't a complicated name or anything.
So, Team DBBDBK. I'm gonna ask him what map up next.
Yeah, the CC chains on Dannycarry were real in that last match. It was like a 3.5 minute match and 1.5 minutes of CC on Dannycarry, and like we saw at the end there, it was just CC after CC after CC, and Ironbark came and went on Mageiden, and there was no healing that happened to him other than like a couple of hots in the entirety of that Ironbark, just because Dannycarry was stuck in CC that long. Yeah. So it's obviously there's a lot of CC that the Thug Cleave is able to put out, but it's still impressive that they're able to pull it off that precisely, to be able to layer it that often.
Yes. So the next map chosen is Tolvaron Arena. Looking for a bigger map this time, I guess, because I don't know. I'm not actually sure. Maybe they want to give Mageiden some more breathing room, as he was the kill target last time. But then again, all three of these players could be the kill target for either team.
Yeah. This is kind of like an unexpected turn of events. I mean, this Thug Cleave just dominating basically everyone they're playing against. It is 2-1 right now, but that game looked pretty convincing coming out from Boo Brothers. We're going to have to see if Team DBBDBK can pull it around, turn it around.
All right. Yeah. Yep, doors are about to open here. I'm actually curious to see what they end up doing with the Shrouds again. If we're going to see another one like with Nagrand, where both teams just sort of hid back a little bit. And no, that's not what we're seeing at all. Actually, Pikaboo catching Mageiden and able to open up on him there just a little bit, but then getting caught into the cheap shot himself. Kubzy and Dillypoo also stunned in the midst of all of this, just trying to limit that opener as much as they possibly can. Dillypoo takes a ton of damage, though. That was a big chunk, dropping him down to 50%, just kind of out of nowhere there. Kubzy caught in the blind for just a second. He is going to have to trinket that immediately, but then falls up in the polymorph. Pikaboo is popping his Shadow Dance, trying to get some damage out, but Dillypoo is taking tons of damage here still. He has not had to deterrence, as Kubzy was able to get the Ironbark out on him and a few hots as well. Now Mageiden taking a bit of damage and getting his own Ironbark from Dannycarry in the midst of all of this, into the cheap shot and the block, and the smoke bomb, which is going to force him into block. So very nicely focused, nice turnaround there from Boo Brothers.
Yeah, Pikaboo actually kicked Mageiden on Arcane, put him in that full kidney, and smoke bombed him there. Mageiden actually having to use his trinket and ice block, but Dillypoo now in a kidney shot. Kubzy into the deep freeze, Ring of Frost with the cyclones on Pikaboo, and Dillypoo finds himself in a 1v3 situation. Kubzy not going to get any more CC on him, though. Dillypoo still having to use that first deter. He has one more available, but he has no trinket. Meanwhile, Dannycarry caught into the full trap. Mageiden getting opened on by Pikaboo with that Garrote. Comes the cheap shot, and he is getting bursted down quite hard. Kubzy getting these clones out on Dannycarry, clone into a reclone, and Mageiden in a little bit of trouble. He's trying to LOS Dillypoo the best he can. Pikaboo actually throwing out that kidney shot onto Dannycarry as well. Meanwhile, they're turning around onto Dillypoo. The kidney shot comes out with the smoke bomb. Kubzy displacing in there, getting in, able to get that Ironbark and some hots onto Dillypoo, so he is going to be able to survive for now, but Mageiden still in a lot of trouble taking that barrage damage from Dillypoo. He does have Ironbark right now, and Dannycarry isn't in any CC, so he will be able to top him and stabilize.
Yeah, both teams just trying to get a handle on things again here. Trying to get that polymorph off, and doesn't look like he was able to land it. Pikaboo actually getting cloned here just to limit that amount of damage that's going out. But the follow-up from that is Genericz into a clone, into a root right off of that. Mageiden now caught in a cheap shot. Dannycarry into a full trap as well. Might be in a little bit of trouble here. He does still have his other block available, and the second one will be up in a minute. So he shouldn't feel too bad if he has to use it. But he's just going to go ahead and drop that Ring of Frost and hide behind it over here and see if that can limit the damage, which it's doing a pretty good job of at the moment.
Yeah, and Dillypoo into that cheap shot, clone onto Kubzy. Dillypoo might have to use his second deterrence here. Kubzy's still not out of CC just yet. The clone's coming in. The offensive clone from Dannycarry onto Dillypoo, denying those heals. The bash onto Kubzy's Dannycarry making the plays, and Dillypoo desperately trying to get away, but finally Kubzy's out of CC, able to get that Ironbark and ass up. That was beautifully done by Dannycarry, but they weren't able to really capitalize on it. Dannycarry now throwing that Ironbark onto Mageiden, trying to prevent a little bit of damage on him, but Dillypoo's still in a little bit of trouble, and Pikaboo is getting CC'd so much this game. He's getting polyed over and over, cloned over and over. And because of that, he's able to not do too much damage. Pikaboo throwing out that kidney shot onto Genericz and still just hitting Mageiden, but they're not able to really get too much going. Kubzy caught into that blind, immediately going to trinket it. At the same time, Dillypoo's caught into the kidney, and Pikaboo is cloned, so he's not able to really peel or stop any of this incoming CC on Kubzy right now.
Yeah, I want to point out one thing that Dillypoo keeps doing, which is really awesome, is he has Trap Launcher disabled. He keeps dropping traps at his feet because he knows that Genericz is running, I believe at least, he's running Shadow Step, and that keeps dropping him right directly into a trap whenever he tries to get on him. So that's just a great maneuver there from Dillypoo to be able to pull that off constantly. Trying to do some damage now to Mageiden. Dillypoo taking damage still as well. Genericz gets put into that clone. He does have his evasion up that entire time as well. He's going to Shadow Step over and try to get damage back onto Dillypoo, but Mageiden taking a bunch of damage. Dannycarry in a trap. Mageiden does have the Ironbark active, so he's going to be fine on that. He was not able to get that polymorph off. He was trying to get one off in the middle of all of that. But Dillypoo now taking a bunch of damage yet again. He's going to pop his cooldowns though. The crows are out, and that's going to be followed up with there was actually a Cyclone in the middle of all that as well that I didn't actually catch where that went. Dannycarry now in a full blind. He's going to get taken out of that. I believe he actually trinketed that just because he was a little bit worried there about the amount of damage that Mageiden has been taking. Pikaboo now actually popping his Shadow Dance, doing a ton of damage to Mageiden in a hurry there. That's going to get the second block out. But he does have one more available again because the Cold Snap did become available.
Yeah, and Dillypoo's actually going to have his crows up in 8 seconds. Mageiden's still on that hypothermia, and Dannycarry has no trinket, so if they can get him in a CC, this is exactly what they need to do. The kidney shot coming out from Pikaboo onto Dannycarry. If they have any follow-up, Mageiden could be in a little bit of trouble, but they're trying to turn it around onto Dillypoo. Mageiden pushing in, getting that Deep Freeze Sheep onto Kubzy. At the same time, Pikaboo is Bash clone, so Dillypoo fighting for his life by himself. He has 2 deterrences and trinket available, so he's going to be okay, but he might be forced into that first deterrence. Kubzy, a little bit of break in CC, able to get that NS and fully hot Dillypoo up. And he's still taking a lot of damage. I mean, Kubzy finally out of that CC, throwing the Ironbark onto Dillypoo, and they're trying to turn around onto Mageiden, who also has Ironbark, but that's going to fade very shortly. And if they can get Dannycarry in any CC, it could be big trouble for Mageiden without any Ironbark. But at the same time, Dillypoo caught into that kidney shot, down at 20% HP, 5% HP, gets the deter off at the last second, and is going to be able to live because of that, but they are down 1 deter now.
Yeah, he had his trinket available, and he chose to sit it out. It was very greedy. It obviously paid off for him, though. Mageiden now taking a bunch of damage. He gets in the smoke bomb for just a second, but he's going to blink out of there. Actually tries to get an invis off, and he is able to get it for a second, but he's going to have to use his other block because he was pulled out of it and not able to actually stay in that invis. He's going to sit through this full block, and Dannycarry was actually CC'd that entire time, so he was not able to get much in the way of healing out on a Mageiden. Now out of CC, he's going to be able to get some stuff off here. Kubzy deep into a polymorph with Dillypoo in a full kidney as well. Dilly's going to be taking a bit of damage here until Kubzy gets out of that, which he is now. So both teams are once again trying to stabilize here. There's actually a blind onto Pikaboo. I assume that's just trying to limit the amount of damage output going on to Mageiden, because he is taking a bunch, and there was an Ironbark in the midst of that as well. Pikaboo with the smoke bomb blind, just everything, every button's being pushed right now. There's so much stuff going out. Pikaboo taking a ton of damage to get the Ironbark as well on him, trying to keep him alive here. I think we are actually starting to stabilize here a little bit.
Yeah, that was well done by Genericz. He threw that blind sap onto Pikaboo, and then they tried to swap onto him in that smoke bomb with no trinket. But Kubzy fortunately able to use his trinket and run in Iron Bar Pikaboo to keep him alive for now. But now Pikaboo and Kubzy both have no trinket available, so the next swap on Pikaboo could be a lot of trouble. I mean, he doesn't really have too many cooldowns left, and here comes the kidney shot on the Pikaboo. He does have Feint up for now. They don't have any CC on Kubzy. He does have full hots. Pikaboo is going to be just fine. The trap coming out onto Dannycarry, the grew out onto Mageiden, and Dillypoo's crows just came up, so be looking for a lot of damage coming out of them soon. Mageiden is playing very defensive, running behind the pillar, dropping that Ring of Frost. He has Cold Snap up in 3 seconds, but is he going to be able to get it off? He dies with 1 second left on his ice block before he could use it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
That
and that's going to be
hurts.
3-1 for Brew Brothers over DBBDBK.
Wow. That's crazy. Let's take a quick look at that. That was the Killing Spree red buff onto Pikaboo, but he ends up surviving it, Kubzy getting that NS off, and that's the full blind on Dannycarry. Mageiden blinking away. He's at full health here. Take a look at that. There's a cheap shot coming out from TSM Pikaboo, and he just gets knocked down so